What's up, men's physique fans, and welcome back to another video. We had two pro shows this past weekend, one overseas in Hong Kong and another in my backyard of Sarasota, Florida, adding two new qualified Olympians, pushing the grand total to 64 qualified Olympians who will be taking that stage in Las Vegas. Another top Olympian and a men's physique legend is out of the race for the 2024 Olympia, and it's safe to say things are getting a little crazy here in this 2024 season. We have a lot to catch up on in the men's physique division, so let's sit back, relax, and enjoy this video.
They want to take it off from me, so I give what it takes. Whole life been a miracle, seen everything but a cape. Why would I stop now? Found everything on a journey, but another way. Look, I'm not.
Before this weekend, there were only two shows left to qualify for the 2024 Olympia, and one of those shows were the Sarasota Pro in Sarasota, Florida, and I had the opportunity to be there front row to witness the guys battling it out for those final places. So I want to give a quick shout out to our newest qualified Olympian, a guy who has been consistently running the gauntlet, a guy who just turned pro this year, in Ricardo Cenat. Congratulations, punching his ticket to the Olympia. And again, this guy has put the league on notice. When I take a look at Ricardo's physique, there's no question. He has one of the most unique physiques in all of the IFBB, one of the smallest shoulder to waist ratios in the entire league. A very similar look to one of Corey Morris. Now, though he has a crazy look, some of the things that actually hurt him this season were the things that he could actually control. Some of his posing, and again, more of controlling the midsection throughout the whole entire comparison rounds. Now in Sarasota, he absolutely controlled a lot of those variables. There was a lot less breathing through the midsection and he controlled it and it still looked tight. But one thing that he did do that actually almost caused him to lose the show was the fact that he started to engage certain muscle groups that actually started to make him look significantly flatter than he actually was. Ricardo, again, has a very wide structure. And when you are very wide, there's a lot of surface space that you need to cover up from shoulder to shoulder. And again, that's mainly speaking of the chest. So when he was actually engaging his chest, it actually rolled up a little bit and it didn't look as full as it probably actually was. And when you're standing next to a guy like Alex Rogers, who has the fullest chest on most stages, there's no question, you have to make sure that that mistake does not happen because you will expose yourself. But there was no question that Ricardo looked absolutely phenomenal. Again, very balanced from front to back. He cleaned up his posing at every single show this year, getting better and better and better. Is it perfect? No, but he still has 5 weeks to fine tune those details to make sure he is where he needs to be come Olympia time. But again, he is one of those guys who can truly be a dark horse at this year's Olympia. With a lot of the top guys not competing this year at the Olympia, it's safe to say guys like Ricardo can easily break that top 10 simply because of the structure, the balance from front to back, and again, the conditioning that he brings. He just needs to control the variables that he can control, and if he does that, there's no doubt in my mind that he will be in those conversations. And coming in at second place, who I believe was the shock of the entire show and truly gave Ricardo a run for his money, was in Alex Rogers. The thing that I love about Alex's story is that he actually decided to take almost a year plus off to prioritize growing and fine-tuning some of his weaknesses in order to turn them into strengths. And guys, when I mean he did that, he did that. I've had the opportunity to compete with Alex Rogers multiple times last season. And again, you could clearly see the potential that this kid had, but you also could see that there was still some fine tuning that was needed in order for him to be in these top conversations. So taking that time off, there's no doubt that he maximized that time, because this was hands down the best version of Alex Rogers that I have ever seen walk across the stage. And no, he didn't get the Olympia qualification. Not only did he get the highest placing of his career, but he brought the best package that he has ever brought to any stage, bar none. And that should give him that confidence that if he is deciding to continue to compete, which a birdie is telling me that he will be stepping on stage in San Antonio in just 1 week, guys, I'm telling you right now, he's going to be very hard to beat. When I take a look at the physique that he brought, the biggest differences that I was seeing was in the conditioning and the actual muscle maturity. He just looked like a completely new athlete in 2024 compared to where he was in 2023. The midsection was the tightest I've ever seen. The fullness was there. Though he still does need to bring up a little bit more density throughout the back, it was clear differences from last season to this season, and I cannot tell you guys enough. I have Alex Rogers winning the San Antonio Pro. I truly believe that this physique is an Olympia level physique. And again, I want all of you guys out there right now who are watching this, who might feel like they need to compete consistently in order to feel relevant or in order to keep that motivation. Make sure you guys understand. Take that time off now to prioritize the later best version of you. Follow the same trends that Alex Rogers did. Prioritize the offseason just like you do a prep, and make sure that you double down on the future version of you, because so many people are focused on that small marginal improvements. But when you can take that time on the front end to be better on the back end, you guys might just be in a situation like Alex Rogers. And coming in at third place, a guy whose name we have not said a while on this channel is Dustin Alves, a guy who is consistently in these first call out situations. And not only that, in those top three. Earlier in the 2024 season, he has placed second place twice, if not third time, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, he places third here at the Sarasota Pro. When I take a look at Dustin's physique, there's no question that he has made improvements since the last time he stepped on stage in the early 2024 season. The main thing that I see is the natural density in his look. He needed to add a little bit more general thickness to the chest, and again, just overall pop and fullness. But the one thing that he does need to continue to fine tune, and a lot of times it takes multiple shows in order to get this for a lot of guys, which I feel like he actually got a really good grip on closer to the end of the competitive season, I guess in the early 2024 season. But nonetheless, he looked absolutely full, but he didn't necessarily look as conditioned and tight as he traditionally does. But I do believe he is jumping into San Antonio Pro, and I also believe that with that added time, he's going to be able to bring in that added detail. This guy has one of the best backs on any given stage. This guy has a phenomenal structure. He's a great poser, right? He maximizes and controls the variables that he can control. So if he can come in a little bit tighter, there's no doubt in my mind he will be in a top three conversation again. He'll be going against Alex Rogers again, and potentially some additional names who I did hear are jumping into this show. I don't know what's in the water in Asia, but these guys are looking absolutely insane. Last weekend we covered the Tokyo Pro. Thanos, a guy who just doesn't look real. He literally looks like a cartoon character, just qualified for the Olympia. We also highlighted a lot of other guys who were truly impressive in that show. But this time in Hong Kong, we have a new qualified Olympian in Carmi Sabarada. And guys, when I take a look at this physique, this guy truly maximized his potential. Now, there's been a lot of controversy in this show. And when I say a lot, guys, a lot. Not only have I been getting blown up in all of the comments on these videos, I've been getting a lot of emails asking to cover these shows from people who live all over the world. So I wanted to take my time. I wanted to speak to a lot of different parties to make sure I'm understanding the controversial topics or whatever is going on as much as I could, because a lot of this stuff was in another language. But before we get into that, I want to give a quick shout out to the guy who placed second place in Jun Tagasaki. Guys, this physique looked absolutely insane. And again, I actually had Jun winning the Tokyo Pro. And when I take a look at the physique of Jun that he brought here in Hong Kong, again, I have Jun winning this show. Now, Jun does have a glaring weakness to his physique, and that's just simply his back. And there's no question, when you have a dominant front, and as dominant as a front as Jun does have, it actually almost hurts you more because you show the imbalances that you actually have. But let's just take a second to appreciate just how pretty this front shot is. Again, probably the most aesthetic midsection in all of men's physique. Now, when I take a look at first place in Carmi and second place in Jun, I still believe I would have given that edge to Jun. Again, more simply based off of the polished and more of a traditional men's physique look that he actually has. Now, like I said, there's no question the back needs to come up, but I also don't believe the back was non-existent. I do think Carmi looked phenomenal. I think he was more balanced. I just think that he looked a little big and just not as a clean, polished look for men's physique. But nonetheless, these guys both have amazing physiques. Both of these guys are going to be consistent Olympians, and I cannot wait to see these guys battled out consistently for years to come. Now, let's get into the controversial part of this whole entire video. Coming in at fourth place, we had Raul, aka Raul Fitness, a guy based out of India, a guy who has a massive fan base and a loyal fan base, to say the least. And again, I've been getting a lot of messages, DMs, emails, all about the controversial topics that were happening at the Hong Kong Pro. What started the controversy was a video made by Raul's coach going over what he believed he felt and saw at the show, but also what he heard. Now, though the video was in Hindi, I did send the video to a few of my Indian clients and had them actually digest the video and break down exactly what was being said so I can have a better understanding and record this video. In simple terms, Raul's coach was backstage after the show getting feedback from the head judge, and basically what the head judge said was that Raul needed to come in tighter through the midsection. It looked like he was a little bit watery throughout his abs. He also needed to add a little bit of density and width throughout his back. Now, I do believe there's a lot that Raul needs to fix in order to be a top guy, but I also believe that his back was probably one of the best, not only in India, but in a lot of these shows. And I do believe it was the best in this show as well. So that one threw me off a little bit, but again, that's what the head judge said, and maybe it was a little bit different in person. His coach continued to explain that while backstage at the Hong Kong Pro, he overheard a conversation happening with a promoter, basically explaining that Raul did not place higher because they got a call from the higher ups. Again, whether that was a judge, whether that was somebody as if Tyler Mannion, whoever, that they did not want Raul to place higher. Now, I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, but I will say this. For example, if there are some question marks about a placing, they will call those of like Tyler Mannion, some top judges, to get their perspective on it, even though they're not there in person. So can it happen or could it happen? Absolutely. I'm not saying it did or I'm not saying it didn't, but Tyler Mannion does set the standard. And if he sees something that's not being rewarded that should be, he rewards them. Or if he sees something that is being rewarded that shouldn't be, then he simply needs to make sure that that is not happening, because again, there is a standard and there's a look that the men's physique division upholds. But the main thing throughout this controversy was that they felt that he was being robbed because of a promoter not wanting him to win. So the question I've been getting is, what do I think about the whole entire situation? So first, I'm going to look at his physique. Raul has a crazy physique. He has a great back. I do believe he can bring in great conditioning. I've seen it before. I do think he did look better at Dubai, but nonetheless, he does look very comparable. He looks good, but I also don't believe he should have won this show. That's just my reality. Could he have placed higher? Sure. Third place, maybe. I don't think he should have been higher than that. But again, I think just Raul needs to go back to the drawing board, fine tune, improve on what the judges are asking him to improve on, and double down, focusing on being undeniable. Regardless, he wouldn't have qualified for the Olympia. And that's the goal for every single athlete who walks across that stage, is to qualify for the Olympia. So if one placing higher would have kind of changed the situation, I don't think so. I just think instead, there's still glaring weaknesses that he needs to improve on. There's still some consistencies that he needs to bring from show to show. And if he can focus on that, prioritize that, fine tune that, there's no question he's going to continue to be in these top conversations. Before we wrap this topic up, I want to emphasize this. If you decide to be a competitive bodybuilder, even a fan of bodybuilding, understand that you are supporting or competing in the most subjective sport in the entire world. There's a standard that tries to be set, but understand the standard is set through the eye. And everybody's preferences are slightly different. So because of that, you're going to have different judges and different fans and different people want different outcomes or see things slightly different. That's why there's not just one judge on the panel. There's multiple judges on the panel. And that's why they eliminate the top score and the lowest score to try to create a little bit more of a consistencies. Because again, everybody has different preferences. But you cannot go online or speak ill of a judge. Guys, this is coming from somebody who has placed second 3 times in their career. Somebody who has went internationally and competed, where I believe that I had a superior physique on that day, but you will never find me bad-mouthing a judge or speaking ill of a situation. At the end of the day, I chose to be in it. That's just the reality of the sport. I'm going to continue to get better. And if I wasn't undeniable on that day, I'm gonna do everything in my power to be undeniable in a future show. And that's what I recommend Raul to do. Because again, great physique. I'm sure he's a great guy, but he wasn't undeniable. So double down and build that undeniable physique. After posting this photo on the Men's Physique Radio Instagram page, it's safe to say it started to raise a lot of conversation about the numbers of people who are actually stepping across that stage here in Las Vegas. And when you see it in this specific way with all of these people, it does kind of look a little dramatic, right? So when I think of the Olympia, I think of prestige. I think of very hard to get to. And I also think a limited amount of people can do it. Now, don't get me wrong, right? 63, 64 people is very small number compared to the amount of people who compete. So let's also take it from that perspective. But I still remember back in the day when I was watching the Jeremy Buendias and the Brandon Hendricksons and just the Raymond Edmonds, like the ghosts of this division compete. I also remember that there was only maybe 30, 40 guys max at these shows. Now, 60 and in 2022, 70 guys who qualified. I think that's just getting a little bit too much. Now, since then, the qualification window has expanded, right? Because of the COVID year, it has opened up a lot more of additional time frame for people to qualify. And even though they've taken out the opportunity of points to qualify to the Olympia, they also added tons of shows that also opened up the door for more people to qualify. Now, like I said, no matter how many opportunities you get, it is never the easiest to qualify for the Olympia. Everybody who is going to the Olympia deserves to be there, whether you're a first-time competitor or you're a guy who's consistently been there. Because I know guys who have been chomping at the bits to get there again, and they haven't been. There's consistent guys who have been at the top level who aren't going back because it is not easy to qualify. But I do think the 64 athletes who will likely be qualified come the end of the qualification window is just a little much. Now, the main reason I say that is because I look at it from a judge's perspective. 64 people walking out in just one division when you have multiple other divisions to look at is going to be very time consuming. Not to mention, I feel like the smaller pool would make it a little bit more exciting, right? In my head, how do you look at 64 people and remember the look and then the comparison rounds, remember where they need to be and then bring them all out? It's just, don't get me wrong. I think the cream will always rise to the top, but I also think there's opportunities for guys to be overlooked and missed out on, even if they nail their look because of how many people are at the Olympia. And as a judge, I'm sure that it's extremely difficult to manage and keep a very close eye on. And as a fan, I just think it's a lot to watch, you know? Instead of maybe 70 guys, maybe 40, maybe 50, right? Maybe cutting down the opportunities or putting a show, like once you win a show, then you have to win or be at a top call out at the qualifying show for the Olympia. I don't know. I've never been able to think of something that truly works to fix this issue because I don't want to necessarily cut back on shows or cut qualification windows back. I think that there is something that needs to be done, but I'm not exactly sure what that is. I'm curious to know what you guys think. In this situation, do you like the more athletes with more opportunities to qualify for the Olympia? Or is it just too much? And what would you guys do different? Would you add another qualifying show just before the Olympia, where maybe the top 15 or 20 guys from that bunch then go on to the Olympia? Or could that throw a lot off? What would you guys think? Winning 2 shows to qualify for the Olympia. But nonetheless, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And it's official, guys. I was holding out hope because Brandon has always been one of those guys who likes to keep things low, and not to mention that he's always been one of those guys who are in shape, so he practically looks like he's in prep right now. But after this story post, it does not look like he will be stepping on stage at the 2024 Olympia. Yes, I did cover the fact that he was no longer going to be in prep for the show, but a small part of me was holding out because he did say that he was going to follow up on the previous story he made a few months back saying that he wasn't competing this year. But then I was like, he didn't make the post, right? He's still looking good. But after seeing what he posted here, that his eyes are focused towards the 2025, it is safe to say that Brandon Hendrickson will not be stepping on the Olympia stage. And it's kind of crazy to sit here and think that how many athletes who are not stepping on the stage this year. You know, like I said, a lot of opportunity for a lot of new guys, but as a fan of the sport first amongst anything else, you know, you're going to miss seeing these guys backstage and that camaraderie and getting that motivation from them. Doors are going to be open, but I think it's also going to be, you know, a little bit different, you know, this year, not only from the fan perspective, but even in the athlete's perspective. And on top of that, we just officially got confirmation that Jeremy Potvin will be out of the race for the 2024 Olympia. A guy who has placed consistently in top callouts, top 5s, top 4s. Another guy who has been in the top 10 just last year, somebody who has probably the craziest proportions I've ever seen in my life, crazy chest, somebody who has been a legend in this division, decided to stop his race. He did tear his bicep earlier this season bowling. I want you guys to remember that. And the recent updates that we've seen from him, he was looking crazy, but then they started to slow down a bit. But that's when I decided to reach out to him and just hear it from his mouth himself to see whether or not he was going to continue on the run for this Olympia. At one point, he hinted at doing the Sarasota Pro. At another point, he was hinting at doing the San Antonio Pro. I do believe he lives in Texas. It would have made sense. It was a home-based show for him, but it's official that he will not be stepping on stage, and he's going to prioritize getting an earlier qualification in the 2025 window. Again, it's official. Another legend out of the Olympia race, and another opportunity for a young gun to make a name for themselves. If you or a friend are looking for a coach, whether it's to step on stage for the first time, get nationally qualified, earn your IFBB Pro card, if you guys simply want to shut it down, prioritize adding on tissue in order to be competitive in the 2025 season, I am now taking on 3 more clients from now up until the next video before I shut it down and focus on my Olympia prep and, of course, the current clients that I do have. I'm telling you guys right now, not only are we setting the standard for the board shorts, but we are setting the standard for how we bring in our clients. If you are competing in the men's physique division, be coached by somebody who competes in the men's physique division at a level you want to get to, because I'm telling you guys right now, this division is very unique. Having an eye and an understanding of what it's looking for, whether it's critiquing posing, whether it's the conditioning level, whether it's a perfect balance between fullness and conditioning, you need to make sure you are coached by somebody who truly understands what this division is looking for. And guys, I look forward to hopefully connecting with a lot of you guys and building out something truly special and maximizing your potential. So if you are interested, all you got to do is click the link below and I will reach out to you within the first 24 hours, pick your brain to make sure we are a good fit, answer any questions that you have, and go from there. Again, as always, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And now that we are all caught up on the men's physique division, I want you guys to have a great week, and I will see you in the next one.